Hello and welcome back to another card making tutorial. In today's video, I will be showing you how you can create bold backgrounds using bold colors and some stencils. I have 5 examples for you today and let's look into the first one. First, I want to lay down some ink on my cardstock with some heavy hand. So rather than using any blending tool or brush, I opted for the direct to paper method. I'm using the Peacock Feathers Distress Ink by Ranger, the Lemon Yellow Dye Ink by Mutra, and the Abandoned Coral Distress Ink by Ranger again. On top of this, I'm going to place my Craftangles braid pattern stencil and secure it with some washi tape. Next, I'm taking some jet black ink. I'm using Versafine Onyx Black ink. You can choose the ink of your choice. I would suggest to use an ink which is not water soluble. And I'm using a blending tool here to stencil over the pattern. And once you pull out stencil, just look at that amazing pattern. Now you may be concerned that this would damage your stencil. Not to be worried. I'm just spraying some water over my stencil and going with the microfiber cloth and cleaning it right after the usage. You can do the same technique for the surface that you're inking on. I'm using an IKEA chopping mat here and it works just fine. Now, using that panel, I'm going to be creating 2 cards. And for the first one, I'm using the Lawn Fawn Hammock and Trees die set. And I have die cut it out of cardstock from Craftangles again, the charcoal black cardstock. And I'm positioning it in a way that it looks like you're on a sunset beach and the silhouettes of the palm trees are visible. I'm not using the hammock die, I'm just using the palm trees. And I'm going to mat this entire placement on some yellow cardstock, that is the Canary Yellow Craftangles cardstock. For my sentiment, I'm using the Birthday Sentiment 2 A4 sheet by Craftangles. I love these sentiment sheets, they make my life so easy. With the help of a T ruler, I am centering my panel onto the Canary Yellow cardstock, and I have some foam tape behind that little panel. And once I have that secured, I'm going to go ahead and first put in the part 1 of my sentiment, that is treat yourself, and the second part is because I didn't get you anything, I think it's so funny, I'm going to place it right at the bottom. I am adding some black charcoal cardstock on my card base. Again, the card base is from Craftangles, makes your life very easy because it's pre-cut. And now I'm going to add some foam tape behind my Canary Yellow panel and stick it on the black panel card base that I have created. I'm just highlighting a few areas with some Morning Dew Nuvo drops by Tonic Studios, and I've added some drops here and there and also highlighted the coconuts on my palm tree. And that finishes the first card for today. I've also added that little sentiment at the bottom. For the second card, which was created out of the frame left from the previous panel, I don't have a video for it because it's pretty simple. I used the stamp set by Craftangles, that is by the sea, and I used this little cute red crabby and added the sentiment pinch me because I can't believe you are mine. I think that's so cute, embellished with some yellow Nuvo crystals, and that was it. Moving on to the third card for today, and I think this is my favorite card of this video. I am again doing the direct ink pad to paper technique. I am using the carved pumpkin distress ink at the top, and under it I'll be using some red dye ink by Mudra. And you see my ink pad is pretty dry, so this technique is the best way to get most of it. And lastly, the Kitsch Flamingo Distress Ink by Ranger. Over this, again, exactly same like the previous card, using some flower cluster stencil by Craft Angles and going with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm going to town. I'm getting a good heavy-handed ink blending in there. But make sure your stencil is fixed properly, because when you're using a heavy hand, it tends to move. And there, just look at that reveal. It's so dramatic and I absolutely love it. Before I go ahead, again cleaning my stencil with some microfiber cloth and water, and I'll be doing the same for the IKEA chopping mat that I'm using as a base. I'm going to keep the card pretty simple. I'm just using a sentiment from the sentiment sheet. This is the birthday to sentiment, and I've matted it on some white cardstock, and that's it. I've added few gems by Studio Katia here and there. These are the mirror gems, and we can move on to the fourth card for today. The inks that I'm using for my fourth card is the Wilted Violet Distress Ink by Ranger, then some Twisted Citron, I think that is a shade of lime green, and lastly I'm using some Cocoa Brown dye ink by Mudra, and I'm going heavy in there because that ink pad is pretty dry. Now I'm using the Damask's Basic Stencil by Craft Angles, and I will repeat the procedure wherein I stencil the entire pattern with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And time for the reveal. It looks so pretty, and now I'm not going to use this as an entire panel, but I'm going to create a die cut out of this. I'm using the Hello Bluebird Make Me Smile word die, and that cuts out the letters. Now you can totally save the panel that I've die cut it out of and create a shaker, but today I'm just using the letters. I'm using some charcoal black Craft Angles cardstock, and there I have embossed it using some Simon Says Stamp Circle Things embossing folder, and I'll be using the reverse side of it, the one which has the valleys and not the one which has the circles as raised areas. I have added some white dual textured cardstock behind those letters, and I have offset them so a little white peeks out. And now I am sticking those die cut letters with some foam tape directly onto that black embossed panel. And I have used some foam tape behind the words You and Smile, but Make Me, the smaller letters, I have directly stuck them with some liquid glue. And finally, to give that wow effect, I am going onto those letters with some Ranger glossy accent, and once it dries you'll see how shiny it looks. And there the card is ready, and I have put it onto some black card base, and it gives a very Halloweeny gothic look, and I really like it because the messages You Make Me Smile, probably in a scary way. Okay, so moving on to the last card for today. This is an end-to-end shaker card. Going on with Wilted Violet first, and then I'm using some salvaged patina distress ink, and lastly I'm using some Twisted Citron. I loved this color combination, it's very cooling. And now, unlike the previous stencil that we use, we'll be doing some partial stenciling in this one, because I want each figure onto each color. This is the Indian Dancer stencil by Craft Angles. The technique is exactly same, where I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, but while I'm stenciling I make sure I cover the other figurines so that I don't accidentally get ink in there. And I think these are the three Bharatanatyam positions, or mudras as you call them, and this would be a brilliant card which can be given to a dancer or someone who has just completed their Erengetram to congratulate them, or who has won probably a dancing competition. And there, our base is ready. I've added that stencil panel on some white dual textured cardstock for some strength, and I went over those figurines with some Stellar glitter pen for some shine. For the acetate part of my end-to-end shaker, I'm using some OHP sheet, that is a 70 micron OHP sheet. Thinner the better because you can fold them. And here I am making a mix of my shaker elements and also making a mess of my shaker elements. I am using the craft angles white matte hearts, as well as the craft angles silver shimmer stars. Along with that, I'm mixing a bunch of old shaker elements that were just lying in there, and I don't know what brands are they from. And you can say that I love playing with them and mixing them. Once the mix is ready, I'm going to start assembling that shaker pocket. Now, I have not edited most of the part. I have kept it pretty real time so that you understand the step by step process. I think in my previous videos, a lot of people had a lot of questions, as in a few of the steps were missing, so I kept it all there. I've just sped it up. So as you see, I have attached some double-sided tape on all the four corners, and I'm going to start by pulling off two of them so that I can stick the lowest fold of my OHP sheet. Before folding any of the sides, I make sure I cut off the corners so that the fold is neat. And oh yeah, always make sure whenever you're making an end-to-end shaker, you're not using very small shaker elements like glitters, etc., because these corners that I'm chopping off, they have a little gap and your glitters can fall out through them. So it's better to use big chunky shaker elements which will not fall off even if there is a hole in your end-to-end shaker pocket. I have moved on to the other side, and there you see, I think this is the last panel before I fill in my shaker elements. There, our pocket is created, and I'm going to fill in all those shaker elements and the mix that we created earlier. And after putting it in, make sure you spread it all out and give it a good shake before you seal it, because a lot of times I've seen that a load of sequins are just stuck in one area and they stop moving anymore. Now I have peeled off the last double-sided tape and secured the OHP sheet, and our basic mechanism of the end-to-end shaker is done. And I love how holographic it looks and the light reflected from all those shimmering shaker elements. I'm going to keep it simple again, just adding this sentiment, and the sentiment is from Birthday Sentiment 2 sheet. It's called You Deserve to Be Celebrated. The entire panel was stuck on a card base, and our last card is finished. I hope you liked all the 5 cards for today, and I had so much fun creating these. If you want to watch more such videos, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on Instagram as well at kechi.school. Bye!